All right, so forget the past. It doesn't matter if last year was a struggle for you, if you're not where you want to be, you can change everything. In this video, I'm going to share a conversation that I had with an agent that I've been coaching now for about a year. He is going to walk you through his entire transformation, how he went from going almost 8 months with no listings, no sales, to the point where he got 7 listings in 1 month. He's going to walk through exactly how he did that. He's going to talk about what he changed from a client acquisition strategy. We're going to go through that in great detail. We also go through the conversion strategy, how we took those leads that he generated and he was able to set high quality listing appointments. And then most importantly, we're going to break down exactly what he's done to win the listing over agents that have way more experience than he did. And so this is going to be an extremely important message because a lot of agents that I'm hearing from are telling me, well, last year, 2024, just was a struggle. It wasn't my best year. Forget all of that. You can change everything right now if you implement some of the things that I'm going to show you in this video. So before I share that video, if you need the brand new Listing Agent Script Book, it's now available. It's 100% free. There's a link to that in the description. You can grab your copy right now. I can't wait to get into your story and kind of tell people what you've gone through really over the last probably year. And then I'll leave 15 minutes open for all of you guys here that are in the live audience. We'll give you guys 15 minutes. Ask Xavier anything you want personally. And then he's got to get off to get another listing. All right. So hopefully you got something to write with. This will be really inspirational, I think, for most of you. If you don't know Xavier, you don't know his story. Xavier, why don't you start off by telling these fine folks how long you've been in the business and where do you sell real estate at?
Yeah, absolutely. So first off, I truly do appreciate it. I sell real estate in Brooklyn, New York. Kind of been getting pulled all over the city. So I service Staten Island, Queens, Brooklyn, and Manhattan. That's typically my areas. I've been in real estate. I got my license beginning of last year of 2024. So I think I got licensed April 29th, around there. And that's also when I joined your program.
Got it. Okay. So you started right from the get-go. Now this story starts off like this. All right. How long was it? You started in April of 2024. When did you get your first listing?
Oh, my first listing I got 3 months ago, if I'm not mistaken. So in October. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So 7 months between the time you started, and it wasn't like you were sitting around, eating popcorn, watching Netflix. You were actually putting in the work. It was 7 months. We'll talk about the whole thing. You got nothing. No listings, no clients, nothing. What's happened in the last 45 days?
Yeah, so I mean, I started prospecting. That's when I first picked up the phone in July. Before July, I was still working full time at T-Mobile. Got a promotion at the time, just absolutely killing it over there, being top 1% of 1%. They were really trying to just push me into getting a higher role, staying in that company for as long as possible. And at that time, I was indulging in your content, just learning as much as I could on my lunch breaks while I'm still helping customers with like an AirPod in my ear, just listening to all the videos, being in the coaching calls that Dom does. And, I just decided to take the risk. And, me and you had a great conversation. You told me to just burn the bridges, burn the boats. I listened to you and I did that. Now, fortunately, we had the first prospecting games that we did before this one. Won that one, literally just on the phone, 6-7 hours a day, 5-6 days a week. No excuses, no exceptions. Now we just had this prospecting games, which was November and December. This one is where things really just started to pick off.
Yeah. So tell us, like you went from, again, because what we're going to talk about, I think the premise of today's story, this is for everybody that's watching. This is really going to hit home. This thing that I talk about called pipeline maturity, that when you're going through it means absolutely nothing. And then when it happens to you, it's the most important thing in your life. So 7 months, really you started doing the work in July. So you had July, nothing. August, nothing. September, nothing. October, nothing. We have a conversation over the phone. Freak out moment, right? Make it or break it. Nothing. November, you get your first listing. So 5 months, you get your first listing. Then from November to right now, January 7th, how many listings have you taken?
7.
7. That's 7 in about 45 days. How? If I'm watching this, you're like an overnight success that took 7 months. You see, here's the thing. If I told all of you, all right, Xavier got 7 listings in 45 days, you would ask the question, well, what have you been doing in the last 45 days? That's the wrong question. Xavier, talk to us about what it was like for that 5 months while you were doing the work and getting no result. Talk to us about what that was like.
I was literally beating my head against the wall as much as I can. It was just suffering, and just picking up the phone, getting told to F off at 7:30 in the morning, just waking up to that, and just having that happen for 6-7 hours a day, 5-6 days a week, almost every single day, sometimes even on Sundays. And obviously people were not happy on those days either. But during that time from July to November, it was all just learning. It was just, how many contacts can I do to just fast track the process of learning, right? And I was doing 50, 60, 70 contacts a day with nothing, maybe walking away with 1 lead if I was lucky that day. And I would still, have that 1 lead and start jumping up and down to then just find them a month later listing with somebody else. So it was just suffering. And, all those mistakes, I finally just sat back, me and you had a great conversation and just learned from those mistakes. And that's where we are today.
Yeah. So what kept you going? Because here's the truth. Let's be honest. That's where the 90% that quit, they quit within the first 6 months. So they, like any type of strategy or tactic, it doesn't matter if it's outbound prospecting, if it's inbound content marketing, if it's geographic farming, if it's Zillow leads, if it's I'm going to get a Commissions Inc. platform and do Facebook and Google PPC. It all takes 6 months to really get it going. What kept you going? You continuing to believe when you weren't getting the result, where most people quit? Like, what was it for you?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's cliche, but truly my why. I'm glad I discovered that early on. My why is, hopefully to make enough money so I can move out of New York and start a life that is not, 20 degrees outside when I go to the gym and stuff like that. But I realize it's just like the gym, right? You don't go to the gym 1-2 times a day and all of a sudden have a 6-pack and you say it all the time. Another thing I wanted to touch on too was honestly this community. I mean, just being around people that were making 250,000, 300, $500,000 a year, and to just have conversations with them, it just blew my mind. And, we'll get into it a little bit later, but it was like, honestly, I'm watching you do the work and I'm taught the same work that you're doing now. So why can't I be there?
That's it right there. That's it right there. And that's what I hope everyone in this community just heard, is that there's no difference. There's no difference between the person who, to your point, was making $200,000, $300,000, $400,000 and the person who's not getting those results. They're going through the same process, but you do have to be patient and allow yourself to do exactly that, is to go through the process. There's no shortcut. You can't fast track. There's no way to avoid the 6 months of the scene in Shawshank Redemption. When the main character is going through the pipe of human feces. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You can't skip over that. But I wish you could, because I know how painful it is for all of you that are just getting going. You're putting in the work every single day and you're not getting the result. I know that's not easy, but man, boy, oh boy, does it feel good when you finally get through that. So now here we are today. You said even just this month, if you get the listing you're going to go on right after this appointment, that'll get you how much volume in the month of January? It's January 7th, 2025. That'll get you to 5 million. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah. Unbelievable, right? So let's talk through what's different, what's changed. Let's start with the top and we'll work our way down. So when it comes to lead generation, where are you finding the most success? You talk about making all these contacts. Like, who in the world are you calling?
Yeah, so I'm calling expireds, FSBOs, just the money now business.
Sure.
Now I'm starting to be able to enjoy prospecting on a whole different level because I'm able to bullseye prospect and circle prospect now that I have some inventory. But before this, it was just all now business, which is canceled, withdrawns, expireds, and for sale by owners, and old expireds, old for sale by owners.
Got it. Now, everyone listening is probably like, yeah, I'm doing the same thing, but I'm not getting anywhere. So it's got to be something more than just because I'm calling those same leads, Xavier, but I'm not getting the amount of listings you're getting. Talk to us about the skills that you've developed and how you're approaching these conversations that maybe 7 months ago is night and day different.
I want to just, before I even answer that, I want to touch on what you said in the beginning. Something that really just sticks with me all of, now throughout this process of being in real estate is comparison is the thief of all joy. If you try to compare yourself to somebody's chapter, 20 to your chapter 2, you're going to hate this business and you haven't even got started. Now, as far as the skills piece, I mean, we've done call reviews, we've had conversations, I've listened to my own calls, I've done the reps, I've reviewed my own film. It's funny because I have 3 of these in front of me right now. These are my best friends. Before when we reviewed my calls, it would just be, all right, Xavier's listening, but he's just listening to respond.
Mm.
Now, when Xavier is on the phone with somebody, it's more of like, I hear somebody say something and we're going to dig so deep on that it's kind of makes sense to work with this guy because he's actually listening to me, right? Like somebody says, for example, I didn't get any offers on my property. I'm sorry, not even any lowball offers? No. Not even from any investors? No. Okay, I guess when your realtor gave you a call to let you know that the contract was coming to an end and they told you why you didn't get any offers, what was the reason?
So strong.
They're just like, I mean, they didn't. And we're just on one question, right?
Such a great point.
That they said. So now I'm truly, the last game film we did, I was just listening with the intent to respond. You told me it sounded like you were just going from line 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5. Now I have pages of notes just off one contact.
Unbelievable. The thing is too, that I've just heard right now, that some of you that know Xavier, your confidence is pouring through the speakers on my computer right now. Whereas before it wasn't there. Your smile, your energy, I can tell just your positivity is spewing out of the screen right now. And this is the thing that's hard to train, because that's what the prospect is picking up on. So is it fair to say that the confidence that you have now is only there through the failures that you've gone through? Would that be fair?
1,000,000%.
That confidence comes as a result of failure. You can't get around it. It's like, well, just be confident. Well, you can't just be confident. You're confident because you've done something and you failed at it so much so that you get to a point where you stop failing, and it's only through the doing that you get to mastery. Fair?
Absolutely. I would also say maybe it's just in my market, but fake it till you make it does not work.
Right.
Be right through the BS. And if you're sitting in front of them, not really confident enough to know what you're talking about, why am I confident enough to pay you $10,000, $20,000, $30,000? Right?
That's
Why
right.
am I even confident enough to just invite a complete stranger over to my house to waste my time?
Love it. All right. So I want to get really tactical for the audience. I want them to walk away with like a page of notes of like things they can take action on. So getting back to this conversation on lead generation. So it's mostly expired, cancel, withdrawn, for sale by owner. Do you just call them? Do you message them? Do you knock on their doors? Do you send them any messages on Facebook, or is it mostly just phone call?
Yeah, it's all phone calls. I do text message 3-2-1, right? 3 calls, 2 texts, 1 door knock. That's something I'm implementing this year, is door knocking a little bit more, these fresh expireds. I did it one time and I hand delivered my resume, had a great conversation with somebody. They just didn't want to give me the appointment at the time. We set up a follow-up call and I just decided to take it a step further. go shake their hand before we even got together and introduce myself in that light. And I got the listing appointment, right? I'm also going to do my second one today. Same exact situation, fresh expired. Me and her, we had a great conversation. She just was getting bombarded with calls. She said, just give me a call Wednesday. Today's Tuesday. I'm going to go door knock her today.
I love it. Okay. What is it that on the phone call that from a techniques perspective to help the other people watching or listening to this that would help them set more appointments or get more leads on the call? So if you were coaching some agents that are saying to you, okay, coach Xavier, yeah, I love it. I'm calling some of these expireds. What are you doing? What are you saying? How is it that you're delivering it to help you set appointments with expireds?
Yeah. So the reason I showed these yellow pads, I am telling you guys, it is a complete game changer. Somebody, a lot of people will just be on the phones. And I used to be like this as well, just talking. But you'll realize sometimes a prospect says something that they didn't realize that they said, but you wrote it down being the smart salesperson, and you get to go back to that. So when you're going for the appointment and they're just, no, pushing you away. Well, is the plan still to move to Florida by April? Well, yeah, it is. And they don't remember they said that. Okay, well, can I just make a quick recommendation on that? Because they can't backtrack what they said and you already have it written down, and even if you can't go for the appointment, I used to have that all or nothing mentality as well. Don't kill the lead. Just set up a follow-up call. And now you have a page of notes just for that prospect that once you call back, it becomes a no-brainer to give you the appointment.
That's great. Can you give us an example of what your appointment script or language or converse, like what does that sound like? So people here can say, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Like, could we role play that?
Absolutely.
So on that point of like, hey, can I make a recommendation? So you say, do I still need to get down to Tampa by, call it April? And I say, yes, that's still the plan. You would say,
well, do you mind if I just make a quick recommendation before I let you go, Brandon?
Yeah, not at all.
Yeah, and if what I'm about to ask doesn't make sense, just feel free to cut me off and tell me. Would that be fair?
Yeah, no problem.
Well, let's pretend for a second, Brandon, that me and you got together sometime this week. And I'm not saying that we should, but if we did, and while I was there with you, I shared with you exactly why this property failed to sell and what it would look like to get you and your family moved down to Tampa by April 1st. Do you think it'd be a waste of time to just sit down for 10, 15 minutes?
Love it.
I mean, because let's be honest, Brandon, you're not going to make any decisions, right? Unless you felt it made sense for you and your family.
It's true. No, you're right. That's a great point. And so that, do you know Santiago says amazing. It is amazing. Do you know your conversion these days of like your contact to appointment set? Like how many contacts it's taken you? What is it these days?
So from November to December, because that's when things started to pick up, I'm at a 5.9% contact to lead. So that means, it's not where I want to be at. My goal is to be at 10, but lead to set is 40%. So I know when I get a good lead that it's not somebody that's just going to waste my time.
Wow, that's incredible. Do you know your contact? Are most of your appointments coming from the first call or from follow-up?
It's 50-50.
50-50. Yeah, fair. Okay. So you've got, so it takes you about, we'll call it 20 contacts to get one lead. It's about 5%. And you've got, and it takes you said 40% of your leads turn into an appointment set. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's huge because the average is 20%. So let's move from the phone call. So if they say to you, if you don't get the meeting, teach the audience what you're doing to generate a good, solid lead so that you can set up a successful lead follow-up campaign.
Yeah. So first thing.
So I say, go back to the role play. So I say, you know what? No point. We're just not ready yet. I guess we're not opposed to something maybe in the future, Xavier, but we're just not ready to meet right now.
Yeah, and this would be after I tried the appointment. Like, if there's a lot of pain 3, 4, 5 times, but
there you go.
Just not giving it to me. Totally makes sense, Brandon. I know right now I just called you out of the blue. I'm not asking you to marry me over the phone. When do you think it would make sense for me to give you a call back?
Yeah, I mean, we're looking to get down to Florida in April. We'll probably put the house on the market in March. And so I don't know if you call me back next month in February would probably make sense.
Okay, fair enough. And were you thinking the first week of February?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so if I gave you a call February 1st around this time, do you think I would just end up in your voicemail, or do you think you'd actually pick up the phone?
No, I appreciate you saying that, but no, yeah, call me back
And in
then.
the meantime, Brandon, before I let you go, I want to be of service to you before we even get together. Would you hate me if I, called you in maybe a few days just to let you know what's going on with the market before you decide to make that huge decision?
Not at all. Not at all. That'd be helpful.
Then I just go from there,
That's great. That's really good. That's a really good little nugget, right? So you're getting permission to follow up sooner than when I told you. Genius, right? Genius. It's really good. Love it. Okay. Now, talk to us about lead follow up. What you're doing with lead follow up. What are some wins and maybe some mistakes that you've recently fixed?
Yeah. So, I mean, I've been consistent since day one with my weekly email. And I'll be honest, I've set 4 listing appointments through weekly email. I'm doing the Friday every Friday, either Friday or Saturday. If I'm just too busy on Friday, I'm sending those weekend texts, letting people know I'm available all weekend, and then I'll touch base with them on Monday. And Monday, Tuesday is typically when I do my follow-up calls.
And then it's appointment time, baby, right? Like that's what's happening. So weekly email, everyone's eyes kind of lit up like, whoa, you sent 4. So what are you putting in that weekly email? What platform do you send it through? Like give us some brass tacks.
These are you have to take all credit for this, Brandon. It's all your emails. I'm doing follow-up boss, something I implemented as well. Now that I have listings, I do listing of the week. So
Cool.
that way it gets it in front of all the sellers. They know I'm active in the market. They look at the marketing, they see the photography, the videos, the description. They know what it looks like to work with me before they even work with me. And I'll start getting questions on that. And I always have a call to action plan at the end of my emails.
And what is it?
Yeah, if I'd love the opportunity to earn your business when the time is right. Would it be of any benefit if we sat on a call for 10, 15 minutes and went over a home evaluation?
Love it. Great call to action. I love it. And then, so you're sending your weekly email. You've been really consistent with that. Friday or Saturday, you send the text, which sets you up for a successful Monday calling campaign. And so when you make the follow-up call on Monday, which is the most avoided phone call in our industry, because realtors say, I don't know what to say. Talk to us about that lead follow-up call.
Again, back to these, when you have notes, I love to write, right? So
Me
I
too.
write on these yellow pads and then I'll import all the information to my follow-up boss. So when I call this person, I know every single thing about them when it comes to desire, ability, reason, and timeline. I know when you're trying to get there, why you're trying to get there, if you can get there, and what it looks like to when you do get to that point. So that way, when I call you back, it's just like, hey, Brandon, this is Xavier, the realtor you spoke to about a week ago. I know you were looking to get down to Florida by April. Have plans changed, or is that still the same thing?
No,
Okay.
that's still the plan.
Yeah, great. And then we'll, have a little further about a conversation, right? Hey, this home sold over here for XYZ in XYZ time. And then I'll go for the recommendation again. And I'm
All
always
right.
asking for the appointment minimum 2 times.
So everyone that's listening, it's a 3-step framework. Okay. Xavier said step 1 is to reaffirm the motivation. Step 2 is then to reference something from the MLS that pertains to the sale of their home. A recent active, a recent sold, a recent pending, a recent price reduction, a recent mortgage rate decrease, something that pertains to them in the sale of their home. And then 3, ask for the appointment. So step 1, reaffirm motivation. Last time we spoke, Jane, you had mentioned that you were doing X, Y, and Z and you wanted to do it in this time frame. Has anything changed? Nope, that's still the plan. Okay, got it. Now, I don't know if you saw this, but I sent you an email with a property that just hit the market. So I don't know if you had a chance to look at that. Did you have any questions on that? No, I did see that. It's interesting, X, Y, and Z. Okay, cool. Now, listen, while I'm here, can I make a recommendation? Sure, what's that? Ask for the appointment. Fair?
Yeah.
It's those 3 steps.
Another thing I would bring up too, I send the handwritten thank you cards with my business magnet card and the lotto tickets. When I just sent those out, I typically next call, I'll confirm that you got it. Hey, Brandon, I know a lot of stuff gets lost in the mail. Just wondering if you received the thank you card that I sent you.
So good.
Yeah, it was amazing. Thank you. And then, it now doesn't seem like I'm just looking for something.
Yeah. That's why his appointment set to Met Dustin is 40%. You see, on the coaching call yesterday, we talked about people generating what they thought were good leads. Were you on the coaching call yesterday?
About half of it, yeah.
Yeah, and remember, and so I don't know if you were there, and so we were talking about this very thing, and it's like, then they go and make the follow-up phone call, and it's like the prospect has no idea who they are. Well, that's because we're not sending the thank you card. We're not sending the weekly email. We don't send the weekly mailer. We don't send the weekly text. We don't send the video, the thank you video text. We don't do any of that stuff, right? So anyway, that's really good. Now, just
to add on to that too, so you don't even have to wait till Monday to give some of your prospects a call, right? When I just list the property in their area, I'll let them know, hey, I'm personally inviting you to the open house I'm having this weekend. It's a property in your area. It's this many beds, baths, square footage, etc. Just trying to stay top of mind because there's just so many realtors that you're going to get lost very quickly if you don't stay on top of them.
And that's one of my favorite lead follow-up strategies, what Xavier just said, which is another nugget to write down, is that leveraging open houses as a form of the interview. So if a potential seller prospect can see you in action, that is way better than you trying to tell them how good you are. It's, hey, come to my open house. We have an opportunity to meet. You can see how I handle open houses. They get to see you in action. That's way different than you just on a phone call. All right, let's transition to the appointment, right? Because this is where really the rubber meets the road, if you will. This has been like, I think, the biggest area that you've really gotten good at. And so talk to us about the things at the listing appointment that have helped you to actually win business. And not just win business, but win business over agents that have way more experience than you do.
Yeah. So my met to take in ratio is at 53.8%. So
great.
What I've been doing is setting the agenda, right? I spend a lot of time on that, especially on the part where it's okay to say no. And instead of us getting all the way till the end, at any point, Brandon, if you just feel I'm not the right person for you, maybe you just don't like the way I smile, you can tell me, and I promise you will not hurt my feelings. This is it. I am interviewing for your business, and at any point you can decide if I'm just not the right fit for you. Is that fair?
Amazing. So in other words, the more you invite them to say no, the likelihood for them to say yes increases.
Yes, and they also see that you're just very detached.
That's right.
Especially like me being so young, they most likely come and think that I'm desperate for their business. And, you know, behind me, I am a little bit, but not that bad. So where it's just like, please, please, please give me the business. It's okay. I understand I am not the right realtor for everybody.
Well, from a tactical perspective, we don't have time to get into this, but like what I just said is the point. The point is the more you're attached to the yes, the more no's you'll get. And the more you invite them to say no, the more yeses you'll get. It's just how it works. I don't have time to explain it, but that's what's going on. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So you do a really, really good job with that upfront agreement. And then what other part of the listing appointment do you feel like really moves the needle such that someone gets confidence in you that you are the right agent?
So there's two other parts to it.
Okay.
One is your value proposition, letting people know that even if we decide to do business together, and I'm not saying that we should, but if we did get to that point, you could fire me at any time if you feel I'm not meeting your expectations. And same on my end. If I just feel I can't sell this property for whatever reason, would you hate me if I told you?
Right.
And then the other two value props that we have. And another thing that I added on my listing presentations, my first listing, it had over 3 million views in 2 weeks, and it just blew up on social media. So I added that part there, but not for what everybody's thinking. I added that part to let them know, the seller, right? A lot of realtors are going to show you this marketing stuff, and I can show you it as well. But this is not going to sell your home. I can show you exactly how I've gotten offers in 2 weeks for my listings, even in a buyer's market. I can show you how I get millions of views on my listings. I can show you this, that, the third. But this is not going to sell your property, right? What is going to sell your property is the presentation I just showed you. But I wanted to bring this to your attention to know that you won't have to worry about marketing.
So good. You guys, that's so good that he's talking about it. He's servicing the scratch that may be on your mind or the seller's mind. So he's scratching the itch, right? So it's nice and itched, but he's talking about the truth, disarming honesty, that's not the deal. The deal is this. That's beautiful. Total genius. I love that. And so you do a nice job of what we call risk reduction. It's removing the risk from the seller, that if they do decide to hire you, that there is no risk in doing so, because you're making an agreement that, listen, there is nothing for you to risk, because if I don't show up for you the way that I'm promising, you hold the keys to let me go. And oh my gosh, does that give people confidence in their decision to move forward. It's great.
Absolutely.
So if they, so I got one more question, then we're going to open this up for Q&A. All right. So if you guys have questions, you can go ahead and start raising your hand here on Zoom, and then Ben will get you guys unmuted. All right. So what do you do from when you get the listing? How are you taking care of your clients? What are you doing to make sure that you're giving them a good client experience, so on and so forth?
Yeah, so this is now something that I've added because before it was kind of like, yeah, I got the listing, didn't really know what I was doing with it.
Yeah.
But now I have my SOP where I send them the seller intake form. I get all their information. A lot of the listings that I have been just complete renovations. So what I really like to do and what I've heard from the sellers is my previous realtor did not shed light on all the improvements that I've done to this property. I really sit there with them, or I'll get on a phone call with them and I'll write down all the improvements that they have, and they already start to feel like you're doing something for them before you even began. And then of course, I pretty much hold their hand through the entire process. I keep letting them know that this is going to be hard. I'm going to keep updating you every week as promised when we first spoke about during our listing appointment. I call them every Monday with feedback, what has sold, what has went on the market, what is pending, and where we're at. And
it's so good. They really appreciate that, right? Because you're not fluffing it to make it seem better than it is. You're going to say, this is going to be tough. This is going to be hard. And that's how you're managing the seller's emotions. That's a whole nother podcast, right? And so T-Mobile income versus what you're going to earn this year. What were you earning being a top guy at T-Mobile? And then what's this year look like for you?
So T-Mobile, say 60 to 70K. So far, just where I'm at a little under 120.
For the year?
From what I have just, active right now.
Yeah. Wow. So what is the goal for this whole year? Because we're in January.
So, yeah, I know. My goal was 150.
Okay. So you're going to far surpass that. So now what are you thinking? Yeah.
If possible, I'd like to shoot for 200, but
yeah.
I don't want that to be, the joke that you always make, pull it out of my rectum type of thing.
Yeah. That's so funny. Well, that's great. So we kind of walk through your transformation story, right? Going from zero, we talked about, we didn't touch on, this is really important. Lastly, and then you guys can ask him anything you want. You have to speak to pipeline maturity. What you thought it meant when I kept telling it to you when you got nothing, and now what does it mean to you now that you actually have experienced pipeline maturity?
Yeah. So I always understood what it meant because, again, surround yourself, before I even dig deep into that, surround yourself with people that you want to be like, not people that you were like or that aren't going anywhere, right? So in this program, Inner Circle is great, right? I've got introduced to a lot of people that make the income that I hope to make. So I seen their pipeline maturity. I seen them getting, I know I'm going to have 2 listings coming next month. And the month didn't even start. I'm just like, wow, I'm still fighting for my first one, right? But now that I'm starting to see it, I have, appointments I went on in December that are ready to list in January. And, in my follow-up boss, I have people that are like, hey, now that the holidays are over, let's get together, or give me a call in February. Or, yeah, I know I'm going to list 1,000% in March. So I know now that I have business in the future. And to just feel that, you just have to be patient. That's really all it is with this business is just, tucking your tail and biting your tongue and just not complaining. I know we were going to get into the conversation that we have, but I don't think we have any time for that. But just be patient. Just put your head down and don't look up.
Yeah. And what you just said is great. Pipeline maturity means that the conversation, if you are still building and you still have a little bit of doubt, you have to understand that it just takes a little bit of time, to Xavier's point, that the conversations you're having now turn into actual signs in the ground in 90 days. So until you feel that, because now you've felt it, you've felt those conversations in October turn into listings in November into December now into January. Now these conversations I'm having in January, that's all my March's business.
And it's
because you've gone through it.
Yeah, and it's so easy to do all that work and let it slip your hands by not following up. So following up is definitely a huge part to pipeline maturity as well.
Yeah, I love it. All right. Who's got the first question? You got Xavier. You've got someone who has gone through this entire journey being a brand new agent from zero from $0, never earning an income in this business, to now 6 figures in a very short amount of time. He shared everything with you. You've got him for 10 more minutes. What questions do you have for Xavier?
Here goes, Xavier. I got one for you. You built your confidence on the phone. How long did it take you? How many appointments did you have to go on to build your confidence on the listing appointment to start taking those?
Yeah. So personally, I feel like in person, it wasn't as bad because I had that T-Mobile sales experience, but I went on, I think like 6 appointments and didn't get anything. And it was just going back, coming home. I always recorded my appointments as well. I put my phone there, face down, just voice memo, and I'd listen to it. I'm like, man, why is my voice shaking here? It sounds like I don't know what I'm talking about. I wouldn't even hire myself. So then it would just go back to role playing that and role playing that and role playing that and writing the script and just learning it.
It's a great question. Go ahead, John. We'll get you unmuted, my friend.
Hey, Xavier. What are you doing now to sell property and have them close during this like November, December, January timeframe when the market really sucks?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that. I've been taking our skills of the phone, and instead of just doing reverse prospecting on the MLS and just email blasting everybody, I'm directly calling agents that have sold in this area in the past 180 days and having those voice-to-voice conversations with them, having voice-to-voice conversations with people in EXP, right? Letting them know, talking to other brokerages as well, going into their office, giving them little postcards, flyers, whatever it is, my business card, letting them know that buyer's agents are protected. We're willing to work something out as long as the net number makes sense. I don't care how much commission you ask for, as long as my seller meets their net number or more. And now that inclines people to want to just come through the door. And, my open house, I just did an open house on Saturday. I've been, again, like I was saying, sending it to my sellers, sending it to people in my email, just reaching out to anybody in the area, getting them through the door. And the last open house I did, it had about 20 people at a time in that open house. And it just created the illusion of, wow, people are really interested. And I got 2 offers on that.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's great. Yeah, I love that. I mean, you're really putting forth the effort for your client, which is what we've promised the client that we were going to do.
You have to. I'm in a full buyer's market now. It's bad.
Yeah, it is bad. It's hard. It's hard. The days of just sitting, putting the sign in the front yard, and then you getting 10 offers in 2 hours, those are over. Those are over. You have to actually be proactive. You got to be the professional. Because the problem is most agents got their license when in a seller's market where they didn't have to do anything. Sign in the front yard, sit back, and just collect the offers, and they look like a hero. Those days are just gone. They're gone. All right, what else what else you guys got? Go ahead, Miles.
Yeah. I know you mentioned how detaching from the outcome was something that really helped you. So how can you do that as like a newer agent that doesn't have all the business in the world? Like when you really do want that business, how can you kind of detach?
Hard. It's hard. That's a great question too. It's hard because I was there as well. Like I said, just beating my head against the wall. 50, 60, 70 contacts a day and nothing happening. And I was, emailing Brandon, like, what do I do? This is not for me. Like, do I have to really go find a job again? But you just got to trust the process and really just have confidence in yourself, right? You got to understand that the work that I'm doing, I'm so confident that it's going to pay me in the future. I just don't give up. I mean, me and Brandon were talking about this right before we started the live, is people give up right before all the success happens. And I gave Brandon a call 3 days before, about quitting, before I got my first listing.
Crazy. And so that's the definition, Miles, of blind faith. Blind faith means you don't have any evidence to believe that it's going to work. But the blind faith, like Xavier said at the beginning of this episode, is he saw all the other people using the same scripts, using the same tactics, using the same strategies, winning. The only difference was they were doing it for a longer period of time. That was the only difference. And when I talked to Xavier, that's exactly what I told him. You can't, comparison is the thief of all joy. So you can't compare if you're in month 2 or 3 of, okay, first off, if you're not consistent, right, you can't not be consistent and say something doesn't work. But let's assume an agent's really, really consistent, doing 20, 30, 40 contacts every day, 5-6 days a week. It's just simply a matter of time until that thing pops. Now, If you're up and down with inconsistent, it's going to take forever. It won't ever work.
Spot on.
So that's the two things. So there's two huge assumptions. How long is it going to take? A, if you're consistent, I always tell people it's going to take about 6 months. If you're inconsistent, it will take forever. It won't ever work. You agree, Xavier?
1000%.
So every time you stop, you prospect for 3 days and stop, you start the 6 month timer all over again. You prospect for 2 days and stop, timer starts all over again.
I want to say something to that too. I surrounded myself with people that I wanted to take a weekend off, and they were calling me 7:30 in the morning, 8 a.m. I don't even see a single contact from you, Xavier. What are you doing? You're taking a day off when you have nothing? And that just stuck with me.
That's right. That's right. But that's what stuck with me, was that every time I would like get a good streak and stop, and then a month would go by, I'd always ask myself, dude, what if you never stopped? Where would you have been had you not stopped? So every time, this was so painful for me. Every time you stop, you reset a 6 month push out. No wonder it takes most agents a career and they never get started. Because they do something for 1 or 2 days. Okay, this is really, really good. Monday or Tuesday is really good. Wednesday's okay. Thursday, they've fallen off the rails, and then they start all over again. And that's their whole career, and they never build any real momentum. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
This is an interesting question because I promised myself I'm going in on this 2025, and I started today, and I probably went for about 4.5 hours. So I want to ask you, because again, you've been basically going at this hardcore since the beginning of the year. What is your mindset like now, compare at the end of let's say a prospecting day, compared to what it was like then when you get done? Like, am I supposed to go home feeling like my brain's about to blow up, or?
Yeah, that means you work. You got to embrace the no, because you're going to realize that, just starting off or wherever you're at in your career, if you look back at the numbers, how many no's is it going to take for you to get a yes? Right. So I know, like we were talking about contacts to leads, I know it's going to take me 19 people to tell me no for one person to give me the opportunity. And once I get the opportunity, I can present myself in front of people and I have a 50% chance of getting that listing.
Okay. Right. And detaching from the outcome means, Matthew, is that you actually fall in love with the 4 hours and allow everything else to happen by itself. But see, we are so attached to the lead, the appointment, the listing in this business of real estate that it makes the 4 hours painful. But the goal is the 4 hours. So that's the thing that you should feel really excited about. So I do the 4 hours. That's the work. So this is cause and effect. So I do the 4 hours, check, boom, won the day. You're high-fiving people, you're going out to dinner, you're having a steak dinner. Dude, smashed it today. And then the outcomes take care of themselves. All the time. All the time.
Yeah. And just to add to that, if your business plan says to do 4 hours, you better be doing 8 minimum. just to fast track your success. And you're going to just be doing this for such a good amount of time and just already start learning what the next person's going to say, that it's just going to become a game. You're going to enjoy this. I love Mondays.
The best. That's great. Go ahead, Zach.
Hey, Xavier. Man, congratulations getting on here. I've had the honor of prospecting with you and seeing you at your worst and seeing you at your best. And it is, man, this is a hard business to get into. And I mean, you've even created a community within this community. And so I appreciate you so much for that. I mean, this guy really came in here and went all in 1,000%. So I guess my question to you would be, if you were to start all this over, what would you do anything differently?
I appreciate that, Zach. And thank you, man. It's a great question. If I were to do this all over again, I 1,000% would be calling Brandon. It's not scripted. I swear I would be not trying to pay the ignorance tax. I mean, what you teach is honestly just years of mistakes. And I would honestly just pick up the phone sooner. I don't know why I waited so long to pick up the phones. I feel like if I picked up the phones when I first got started and made all those mistakes in the beginning, instead of waiting a few more months, I'd I'd probably be listing maybe 10 million volume instead.
So you buy into the concept of it's okay if you don't know it all in the beginning. Just go out there and fail as fast as you possibly can. Even though you don't know the script, you don't got a great presentation, you don't even know what you're going to do when you get there, you're bought into that piece. Is that right?
Absolutely. And it's so interesting because that's just life in general. You go to the gym and you don't spend hours and hours reading books and watching videos before you decide to lift the dumbbell. You just go there, you look goofy, and then you just continue to do it, right? Or it's the same thing like riding a bike. I'm not going to go watch videos on how to ride a bike. I'm just going to get on it and bust my ass and do it again and bust my ass and keep doing it.
Yeah. You can't learn how to ride a bike at a seminar.
Exactly.
Yeah. It's good, Zach. Bryce, go ahead. We got time for one more, then Xavier's going to get another listing. So Bryce, go ahead, my friend.
Xavier, my man, what is the one thing that you struggle with or feel like you need to improve on?
Good question. And Bryce, my role play partner, I think he's the next person you should have on here. He's been absolutely crushing it. One thing I could improve on, it's a good question. I feel like just doing a better service of staying on top of my future clients now that I have active clients, right? Actually, my goal for this year is just working on time blocking, because I'm so obsessed with prospecting that I'll go from 7:30 to like 1 o'clock, just continue calling. And then I'll be like, shoot, I got to do follow-up. Shoot, now I have to do follow-up and prospect again later in the day. And then I also have to, go service these active listings. I got to do open houses. I got to, schedule showings, this, that, and the third. So that would be something I would improve on. And the next question, I believe, was something. What was the next question? I'm sorry.
Well, what do you feel like you need to improve on? Like, what is there something that you need help to make you even better than you are right now?
Such a good question. I can't think of anything, honestly. I feel like I just need to keep making mistakes and just keep going.
Bryce, what do you think? What do you think he needs to work on? Being his role play partner, what skill or technique do you feel like needs to be sharpened a little bit more?
I know he struggles with FSBOs. I really think going after not only he can smash expireds all day long.
Yeah.
But when it comes to FSBOs, I would say that's probably something we can absolutely improve on and really get even more business with that pillar too.
Yeah.
It's great feedback, Bryce. Thank you for that.
All my listings, I've only signed one FSBO.
Yeah. It's a different conversation. But yeah, Bryce, thanks for that. Really thoughtful questions. Appreciate you for that. Xavier, thank you for this. I'd love to have you back on a year from now, because again, you are truly living this thing, what I call transformation, because it's not just about information, right? Like I can give you as much information as possible, but until you start to execute and you actually use the information and go out there and fail, transformation doesn't actually happen. So thank you for that. Any last words you want to leave with the people?
The only thing I would say is literally just be patient. It's going to happen as long as you do the work. It sounds cliche, but that's because it works.
Love it. Xavier, thank you so much. You guys, we'll see you guys next Tuesday. Have a great week.